The phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while Adrian stirred the pasta sauce. I was setting the table when I glanced at the screen. The message was from someone named Melissa. 3 words that changed everything. I miss you. My hand hovered over the phone for only a moment before I picked it up. Adrian's back was turned, completely focused on his cooking. He hummed softly, the way he always did when he was relaxed. I typed quickly, using his usual texting style. Can you come over? The reply came within seconds. Really? Your wife's home, though. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my hands stayed steady. She just left for her sister's place. Won't be back until late. I watched Adrian add garlic to the pan, completely unaware. He looked so normal, so familiar in his weekend clothes and bare feet. The same man I'd trusted for 8 years of marriage. My name is Rita Roberts, and I'm 34 years old. I work as a marketing coordinator for a healthcare company downtown. Adrian and I met in college, married right after graduation, and built what I thought was a solid life together. We lived in a comfortable townhouse in the suburbs. No kids yet, though we'd been talking about it more seriously lately. Adrian worked as an architect at Hammond and Associates. He'd mentioned Melissa before, the new junior architect who joined his team 6 months ago. Fresh out of graduate school, talented, eager to learn. He'd praised her work ethic several times over dinner. I never felt threatened. Why would I? Our marriage seemed stable, predictable even. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our weekend rituals. Sunday pasta night was one of them. Adrian always cooked while I handled the table and wine. It was our time to reconnect after busy weeks. I sat down at the dining table, placing Adrian's phone face down beside my plate. My mind raced through the past 6 months, searching for signs I'd missed. The late nights at the office had increased. He'd mentioned several big projects with tight deadlines. I'd believed him completely. Why wouldn't I? Trust was supposed to be the foundation of marriage. There were the new clothes, too. Adrian had started paying more attention to his appearance. New shirts, better cologne, regular haircuts. He'd said it was about feeling more professional at work. I'd actually complimented him on taking pride in his career. He'd even joined a gym 3 months ago, started going early mornings before work. I'd encouraged it, happy he was prioritizing his health. Now every innocent detail felt sinister. The phone buzzed again. Melissa's response appeared on the screen. Okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Should I bring anything? I typed back quickly, just yourself, park on the next street over. My hands weren't shaking yet, though my pulse thundered in my ears. This was really happening. My husband was having an affair and his mistress was about to walk into our home. Adrian turned from the stove, smiling. Wine, he asked, gesturing to the bottle on the counter. Sure, I replied, matching his casual tone. He poured 2 glasses, completely relaxed. No guilt in his expression, no nervousness in his movements. Either he was an exceptional liar or he'd completely compartmentalized his betrayal. Dinner's almost ready, he said, bringing my glass to the table. Smells amazing, I replied truthfully. The normalcy of the moment felt surreal. He kissed my forehead before returning to the stove. That casual affection stung worse than any insult could have. I checked the time. 18 minutes until Melissa arrived. I needed to plan carefully. Actually, honey, I said, keeping my voice light, I just remembered I promised my sister I'd call her tonight. Something about Mom's birthday plans. Do you mind if I take it upstairs? It might take a while. You know how Lauren gets when she's planning something. Adrian didn't even turn around. No problem, I'll keep your plate warm. Perfect. Too easy. I grabbed my wine glass and headed upstairs to our bedroom. From the window, I had a clear view of the street. I sat in the reading chair, phone in hand, watching. My mind felt oddly calm now, sharp and focused. The initial shock had crystallized into something harder. Determination. I'd spent 8 years being the supportive wife, the understanding partner. I'd put his career needs first when his firm offered him the position that required longer hours. I'd postponed my own advancement opportunities to maintain our home life stability, and this was my reward. 15 minutes later, a silver sedan pulled onto the adjacent street, just as I'd instructed. A woman stepped out, checking her reflection in the car window before walking toward our house. She was younger than me, maybe 26 or 27. Long dark hair, fitted jeans, leather jacket. Pretty in an effortless way that made my stomach twist. I watched her approach our front door with confident steps. She'd done this before, I realized. This wasn't her first time coming to our house. The doorbell rang. I heard Adrian's footsteps in the hallway below, then the sound of the door opening. Melissa, his voice carried upstairs, surprised but not panicked. What are you doing here? Her response was quieter, harder to hear. I crept to the top of the stairs, staying hidden in the shadows. You texted me, she said, confusion in her tone. You said Rita was gone. I didn't text you, Adrian replied, his voice rising slightly. My phone's been in the kitchen all evening, Rita's upstairs. There was a pause. I could picture them both standing in our entryway, the truth dawning on them slowly. Where's your phone now? Melissa asked, her voice tight. More footsteps than silence. I imagined Adrian checking the kitchen counter, finding his phone missing. Rita, he called up the stairs, panic finally entering his voice. Rita, where are you? I descended slowly, deliberately, Adrian's phone held loosely in my hand. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I found them both frozen in the hallway. Adrian looked pale, his eyes fixed on the phone in my hand. Melissa had backed toward the door, her confidence evaporating. Looking for this? I asked calmly, holding up the phone. Neither of them spoke. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. I can explain, Adrian started, but I held up my hand. Don't, I said quietly. Just don't, I've heard enough lies. I turned to Melissa, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. How long? She glanced at Adrian, then back at me. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of betrayal. Half a year of lies. I'd celebrated our anniversary 3 months ago. Adrian had taken me to an expensive restaurant, given me diamond earrings, told me he loved me. All while sleeping with this woman. Did you know he was married when it started? I asked Melissa. She nodded miserably. I'm sorry, I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. I never meant for it to go this far. Adrian found his voice. Rita, please, let's talk about this. Melissa should go. This is between us. The audacity almost made me laugh. Oh, now you want privacy, I asked. Now you want it to be just between us. Where was that consideration for the past 6 months? Adrian stepped toward me, hands raised like I was a spooked animal. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but I love you. I've always loved you. You have a funny way of showing it, I replied. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, too calm, too controlled. I looked at Melissa again. Did he tell you he loved you too? Her face flushed red. She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. The guilt written across her features told me everything. He did, didn't he? I continued. Let me guess. He said I didn't understand him anymore, that we'd grown apart, that he was going to leave me eventually. Melissa's eyes widened. How did you know? 'Cause cheaters always use the same script, I said. They're predictable that way. Adrian's expression shifted from panic to anger. This is ridiculous. You set me up. You tricked Melissa into coming here. I gave her an invitation, I corrected. One you'd apparently extended many times before. Tell me, Adrian, how many times has she been in our home while I was at work? He didn't answer, which was answer enough. I felt something crack inside my chest, but I refused to let it show. Not yet, not in front of them. Get out, I said to Melissa. This doesn't concern you anymore. She didn't need to be told twice. She practically ran to the door, fumbling with the handle in her haste to escape. The door slammed behind her, leaving Adrian and me alone in the hallway. The pasta sauce was still simmering on the stove, filling the house with the smell of garlic and tomatoes. Rita, Adrian said, his voice softer now. Please, we can work through this. Couples therapy, whatever you need. I'll end it with Melissa. I'll change. Just give me a chance. I walked past him into the kitchen and turned off the stove. The sauce had started to burn at the edges, ruined like everything else tonight. How many chances did you give me? I asked, not looking at him. How many times did you think about me before meeting her, before texting her, before bringing her into our home? It wasn't like that, he protested weakly. Then what was it like? I finally turned to face him. Explain it to me. Make me understand how you justified this. Adrian ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd always found endearing. Now it just looked pathetic. I don't know, it just happened. She was new at work and we started talking. It was innocent at first. Nothing that ends with you cheating on your wife is innocent, I said. When did it stop being innocent? The first time you had lunch alone? The first time you texted her outside of work? The first time you kissed her? He flinched at each question. It doesn't matter anymore, he said. What matters is what we do now. I want to fix this. I want to fix us. There is no us to fix, I replied. The clarity of that statement surprised me. I'd only discovered the affair an hour ago, but somehow I already knew this truth. You broke something that can't be repaired. Adrian's eyes filled with tears. Real tears, not the crocodile tears of someone trying to manipulate. He was genuinely upset, genuinely sorry. But sorry didn't change anything. Sorry didn't erase 6 months of lies. Sorry didn't undo the image of him kissing her, holding her, making promises to her that belonged to me. "Where are you going?" Adrian asked as I headed for the stairs. "To pack some things," I replied. "I'll stay at Lauren's tonight." "No," he said, blocking my path. "I'll go. This is your house too. I'll stay at a hotel." I almost laughed at that small courtesy. "How thoughtful. Will you be staying alone or should I expect Melissa to join you?" "That's not fair," he said. "Nothing about this is fair," I shot back. "But fine, you leave. I'll pack your things." I pushed past him and climbed the stairs to our bedroom. The room we'd shared for 8 years suddenly felt contaminated. How many times had he lain next to me, thinking about her? How many times had he made love to me while wishing I was someone else? I pulled a suitcase from the closet and started throwing his clothes inside. Not carefully folded, just tossed. Shirts, pants, shoes, everything. Adrian appeared in the doorway, watching me destroy the organization of his wardrobe. "Rita, stop, let me do that." "Why?" I asked, not pausing. "Afraid I'll wrinkle your nice new shirts, the ones you bought to impress her." "This isn't helping," he said. "Nothing's going to help," I replied, zipping the suitcase shut. "Your things are packed, you can leave now." He didn't move, just stood there looking lost. "I need you to know something," he said quietly. "I do love you, I never stopped loving you." What happened with Melissa, it wasn't about not loving you. I sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly exhausted. "Then what was it about?" Adrian sat beside me, keeping a careful distance. "I don't know, maybe I was scared. We've been talking about kids, about the next stage of our lives, and I panicked. I felt like I was running out of time to be young, to be exciting." "So you decided to prove you were still young and exciting by sleeping with a woman 8 years younger than me?" I asked. "That's your midlife crisis solution." "When you say it like that, it sounds pathetic," he admitted. "It is pathetic," I confirmed. "You threw away 8 years of marriage because you were scared of growing up. Do you have any idea how insulting that is?" Adrian buried his face in his hands. "I know, God, I know, I'm an idiot. I ruined everything good in my life because I couldn't deal with my own insecurity." For a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. Then I remembered Melissa's text, "I miss you." Present tense, ongoing. "When were you planning to tell me?" I asked. "Or were you just going to keep both of us on a string until you decided which life you wanted?" "I wasn't thinking that far ahead," he admitted. "That's obvious," I said. "You weren't thinking at all." I stood up, needing distance from him. "You need to leave now, take your suitcase and go, we'll figure out the rest later." Adrian stood too, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. "Don't," I said firmly. "You don't get to touch me, not anymore." He nodded, defeated. He picked up the suitcase and walked toward the door, then paused. "Can I ask you something?" "What?" I said tiredly. "How did you know to check my phone?" "Did someone tell you about us?" I almost laughed. "Nobody told me. I just saw the text when it came through. If you're going to have an affair, maybe don't leave your phone where your wife can see it." The absurdity of the situation hit him. He'd been caught not through careful detective work, but through pure careless luck. His phone had buzzed at exactly the wrong moment. After Adrian left, I sat in the empty house, listening to the silence. The pasta was still sitting in the pot on the stove, inedible now. Our wine glasses sat on the table, one still full. A perfect Sunday evening destroyed in an instant. I pulled out my own phone and called Lauren. "Hey," she answered cheerfully. "How's Sunday dinner?" "It's over," I said. "Can I come stay with you for a few days?" Her tone changed immediately. "Of course, what happened?" "I'll explain when I get there," I said. "I just need to throw some things in a bag." "Rita, you're scaring me. Are you okay?" "No," I answered honestly. "But I will be." I packed quickly, grabbing clothes and toiletries without much thought. As I moved through the house, I noticed all the small signs I'd missed. A lipstick shade I'd never worn tucked behind books on the shelf. A receipt for flowers I'd never received. I found more evidence in his study. A card tucked inside a book. "To Adrian from someone who sees you for who you really are. Love always." The handwriting was feminine, looping. I left it on his desk where he'd find it later. Let him know I'd seen everything. In the garage, I noticed something else. The passenger seat in Adrian's car was pushed back further than I ever set it. Someone taller had been sitting there regularly. More evidence that this had been going on under my nose for months. I loaded my bags into my own car and took one last look at the townhouse. It didn't feel like home anymore. Maybe it never would again. The drive to Lauren's apartment took 20 minutes. long enough for the shock to start wearing off, replaced by a deep, aching hurt. I'd trusted him completely. Never questioned his late nights or new habits. I'd been the perfect, unsuspecting wife. Lauren met me at her door, taking my bags without asking questions. She just pulled me into a hug and let me stand there, finally allowing myself to fall apart. "He cheated," I said when I could speak, "for 6 months with someone from his office." Lauren guided me to her couch, poured me wine, and listened as I explained everything. The text message, the trap I'd set, the confrontation. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" she finally asked. "I don't know," I admitted. "Part of me wants to fight for the marriage. 8 years is a long time to just throw away, but another part of me knows it's already over. How do you forgive something like this?" "I don't think you do," Lauren said gently. "Some betrayals are too big." My phone buzzed. Adrian was calling. I declined the call. He tried again. Declined. Then a text message appeared. "Please talk to me. We need to discuss this like adults." I typed back quickly. "There's nothing to discuss tonight. Give me space." His response came immediately. "I can't lose you." The irony wasn't lost on me. He couldn't lose me, but he could risk me for 6 months with someone else. My phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't Adrian. It was a message from an unknown number. "This is Melissa. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need you to know something." I showed the message to Lauren, who raised her eyebrows. "Should you respond?" "Probably not," I said, but curiosity got the better of me. I typed back, "What?" Her response took a few minutes to arrive. "He told me you two were separated, that you were filing for divorce, that you'd both moved on but hadn't made it official yet. I didn't know you were still together until tonight." I stared at the message, my stomach churning. Another lie, another layer of deception. I believed him because he seemed so sincere. Melissa continued texting. "He showed me the guest bedroom at your place and said it was his room. He said you were just roommates at this point, waiting for the paperwork. I'm not making excuses for myself. I should have questioned it more. But I thought I was dating someone separated, not someone married." Each message felt like another punch. Adrian hadn't just cheated. He'd created an elaborate fantasy for both of us. Told me he loved me and wanted our marriage. Told her we were already over. "Did you love him?" I typed back, not sure why I was asking. "I thought I did," she replied. "But now I don't know what was real." "None of it was real," I answered, "for either of us." I blocked her number after that. I didn't need her guilt or her explanations. This wasn't her fault, but I didn't owe her forgiveness either. The next morning, I woke up on Lauren's couch, disoriented. For a brief moment, I'd forgotten everything. Then reality crashed back in. My phone showed 15 missed calls from Adrian and twice as many text messages. I scrolled through them without reading most. They ranged from apologetic to angry to desperate. The last one, sent at 3 a.m, simply said, "I can't sleep knowing I've hurt you this badly. I'm so sorry. I called in sick to work." I couldn't face questions from coworkers who'd surely noticed something was wrong. Instead, I spent the morning researching divorce lawyers. Lauren had already left for her job at the hospital, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Around noon, Adrian showed up at Lauren's apartment. I watched from the window as he rang the doorbell repeatedly. I didn't answer. Eventually, he left a note taped to the door and walked away. I waited 10 minutes before retrieving it. The note was handwritten on stationery from his office. "Rita, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I've destroyed your trust. But please give me a chance to explain everything. Not to make excuses, just so you understand what happened. I've ended everything with Melissa. I told her it was completely over. I know that doesn't fix what I did, but I need you to know that you're the only one I want. I'll do whatever it takes. Therapy, separation, whatever you need. Just don't give up on us without letting me try. I'm staying at the Gateway Hotel downtown, room 412. Please consider meeting me to talk. I love you. I always have." I crumpled the note and threw it away. He wanted me to listen to understand. But what was there to understand? He'd made a choice every single day for 6 months to continue betraying me. That wasn't a mistake. That was a decision. Lauren came home to find me researching community property laws. "You're really doing this," she said, not a question. "I don't see another option," I replied. Even if I wanted to forgive him, how could I ever trust him again? Every time he's late from work, every time his phone buzzes, I'd wonder. I'd become the suspicious wife, checking his phone, questioning everything. That's no way to live. "You're right," Lauren agreed, "but that doesn't make it easier." She was right. Knowing the marriage was over didn't make the grief less painful. I'd loved Adrian. Part of me still did, but love wasn't enough anymore. Over the next week, I found an attorney and filed for divorce. The townhouse would have to be sold, assets divided. It would be messy and painful but necessary. Adrian tried calling every day. I didn't answer. My attorney handled all communication. Eventually, he stopped trying. A month later, I ran into him at a coffee shop near my office. He looked terrible. Exhausted, thinner, older somehow. "Rita," he said, approaching carefully. "How are you?" "Getting by," I replied honestly. We stood in awkward silence for a moment. "I got the divorce papers," he finally said. "I signed them. I won't fight you on anything." "Thank you," I said, surprised. "I meant what I wrote in that note," Adrian continued. "I do love you. I know I have no right to say that anymore, but it's true. What I did, it wasn't about you not being enough. You were always enough. I was the one who wasn't." I looked at him, this man I'd built a life with. "I hope you figure yourself out, Adrian. I really do, but I can't be part of that journey anymore." He nodded, accepting. "I hope you find someone who deserves you, someone who appreciates what I was too stupid to see." We said goodbye, and I walked away. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined for our marriage, but it was the ending we'd earned. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit when something is broken beyond repair and walk away with your dignity intact.